So here are all of my encouragements for you all to make terrible decisions, as I am the GM.
Ash has a crossbow bolt in her side, 0 dots in skirmish, and 0 dots in wreck. And I'm so excited to see this get even worse. So that's 1 vote for escalation.
Skelly has 3 guns and all the ammo.
Crossroads has no guns, but Crossroads is a gun powered by ghosts.
Have we established that your guns are special to you? I feel like we're establishing that your guns are special to you.
Before this crew, they were my only friends.
You've known us for 5 days. You've known those guns a lot longer.
These are my babies.
Yeah.
I just want to say, Rowan was starting to do this, and then he realizes to harvest, this doesn't help. Like, don't do that.
This is not.
No.
This is
Like,
not
don't do
the
this.
thing.
Yeah.
Doing this to an executioner?
Yeah, that's not what you
Just
want.
like this, like.
We call that the go sign, you know? Like, yeah.
Oh, man.
This theme's great. I will do a fortune roll. Notes. No thoughts. Head empty. 1! I rolled a 1!
Yep. Can you hear me now? Okay, that worked. Apologies. It is later in my part of the world than it is in yours. Happy time zone, everyone, and I hope that you're enjoying your evening. Thank you for joining us yet again for another episode of The Case of the Cindered Seal, our Blades in the Dark Speculate co-stream on this channel, twitch.tv/ArvanElron. We are back to getting some shenanigans after a lot of very intense emotional stuff has happened in our last session. But before we begin, some housekeeping things so I don't forget. First and foremost, there are so many ways that you can support this channel and all of the lovely content that takes place on this channel. First of all, exclamation point RFTube will give you access to the YouTube channel where you can find VODs of this other Speculate co-streams on this channel and all of the other content that takes place on twitch.tv/ArvanElron. Exclamation point RF tweets will give you access to Gregory Wilson's Twitter account where you can get updates about content that will be up on this channel, as well as all of the genuinely thoughtful and erudite things that Greg has to say on a regular basis, which has been very nice recently in particular, because Greg was recently at World Fantasy with me and had so many neat things to say and shared all of the neat things that he heard, and I thought that was really cool. So Greg is cool people. If you are here, it's because you know that, obviously. But yeah, if you want to hear some of the smart things that Greg has to say on a regular basis, exclamation point ARF tweets. Exclamation point ARF Cord will give you access to the Discord channel where you can chat with other members of the community, also get updates about content that will be up on this channel, and generally just be surrounded by cool people who like cool things and want to share those cool things with each other. I definitely recommend it, so please check out the Discord. Exclamation point Arftreon will give you access to the Patreon for this channel, through your support of which we get to do things like the Speculate co-streams, as well as something else that I will get to very soon, and all of the other cool things that take place on this channel. Your support of the Patreon allows us to create more content, to support the content that people other than Greg make on this channel, so everyone has the cool stuff to watch and cool people to spend time with. Exclamation point our shop will give you access to the shop where you can find merch for some of these streams that take place on this channel, many of which is very cool, and exclamation point Speculate, of course, will give you information about the Speculate website and the Speculate Patreon, through your support of which allows us to continue to do more Speculate content, more RPG actual plays with writers as players and GMs. We're currently, as you know, winding down to the end of the case of the Cindered Seal, and in discussions about all of the cool things that will come up very soon. Um, when we are ready to switch to another system and to another story, as well as the Patreon also has special episodes with me and my fellow co-hosts Michael R. Underwood and Gregory Wilson. The very latest of which was recorded very recently and should be up on the Patreon as we speak, if I'm not mistaken. So definitely check that out because that discussion was actually really neat. I we recorded 2 episodes in advance, and I really like both of them. But the one that I know that we've prepared beforehand is particularly important to me because it's a thing that I'm still trying to learn and perfect as a GM, and having those kinds of discussions with people I think have more experience than me in that regard is very enlightening. So please check that out and please support the Patreon. Um, uh, Other housekeeping notes specifically to this channel, exclamation point library will give you information about tales and tomes from the Forbidden Library, published by Alligator Alley Entertainment. The Dungeons and Dragons 5e sourcebook filled with lots of very cool things written by very cool writers and designers, including Greg, which I mentioned also because Alligator Alley Entertainment is presently working on another thing that Greg thinks is really cool. The name of it totally escapes me. But it does indeed seem really cool, so supporting Alligator Alley is kind of paramount to this channel. I think that it's really neat that we as a community can continue to do so and continue allowing them to make neat things that people can continue to experience. Right, Expedition from the Mysterious Peaks is actually kind of cool if you want to do some like cyberpunk shenanigans in a 5e that still has a lot of the original fantasy flavor of Dungeons and Dragons. I think it looks really neat. A lot of very cool things are coming out on Kick. A lot of very cool games are coming out on Kickstarter at around this end of the year, and Expedition from the Mysterious Peaks is indeed one of them. If that's a thing that you want to check out and support Alligator Alley Entertainment, who supports this channel on a regular basis. Exclamation point Icarus will give you information about Greg's graphic novel Icarus and Jelinek, which your support of which allows Greg to continue living, but also because those graphic novels are really neat, and it's obviously very important to check out the award-nominated Icarus and give your love to that work. Exclamation point Grey Shade Chaos will give you information about the Grey Shade series that is presently in the works with Kickstarter information for the rest of that series coming up very soon. More information about that in the near future, but if you want to find out more about those things, please check that out. I'm not sure if there is a command for this yet, but I will mention it ahead anyway, because I will mention it again at the end of tonight's stream. Bag of Giving starts tomorrow with a game of Fall of Magic that will be starring lots of very cool writer friends of ours, including Dave Ring, Sarah Gailey, and Brandon Crilly, who is a friend of the channel, obviously. That's going to be really neat. I'll be running tech for that at around 6:30 EST. Please look out for that. There will be giveaways. It's going to be really cool. Yes, no command yet for Bag of Giving. We're going to fix that very soon because I want to make sure that there are giveaway stuff as well, and I will speak to the relevant folks about making sure that happens before Monday evening. But rest assured, Bag of Giving starts in earnest tomorrow evening, 6:30 EST, and I'm very excited to be running tech for that show tomorrow evening, and I hope that you all pass through and lend your support not only by watching, but by financially supporting the work that Bag of Giving is attempting to do this month and throughout 2022 as well, so we can continue being an example of how positive and gracious the RPG playing and watching community can be in these times. So please check that out, and I will mention that again at the end of tonight's show. But without any further ado, I should rudely interrupt my friends who are very obviously having this very intelligent conversation without me that I just totally upended because I'm a rude and a terrible person. So we can very swiftly move over to this screen over here so you can say hi to all of these lovely people. Say hi, lovely people. Thank you so very much for joining us for getting into some more shenanigans. In the case of the Cindered Seal, I'm very glad to be uh, in the company of you all once again. So please, I would like it very much if you could let everyone in chat know who you are, what you do, and who you will be playing this evening, starting with Valerie. Pretty unpleasant trauma is quite a way to put it, but we'll take it like that. Oop, I just want to make sure that everybody heard you. Please tell me that everybody heard that. Next, Mike.
I was about to check the stream audio to make sure it came through when you called my name. So hello, my name is Mike. I write as Michael or Underwood. I stream on Twitch at Turbo Tango. I've been playing a lot of Inscription, which is a totally gonzo game that is weird and wonderful, and you should check it out. Okay, so Brandon, check the notes on chat on the side.
Yes, I have seen.
I am playing Ring Down More, a haunted veteran turned parent friend to an assortment of various ruffians who all work as the porters, and am the crew's spider. He, him pronouns for me, they, them for Ring.
Mm-hmm. So let's try that again because I screwed up. Valerie.
Hello, I am Valerie Valdes. I am a writer and Twitch streamer. I stream a few different games as well as co-working sessions for all you writers doing NaNoWriMo. My pronouns are she, her. My character is Skelly, the hound. Also pronouns she, her. Skelly is in a bad place right now, and hopefully we'll be able to bring her back to the good place over this session.
We will work eagerly to make that happen. Next, Iori.
Happy time zone, friends! Kusano Iori, Clarion West class of 2017, they, them pronouns. I am, as always, playing Of the Flame the Ash, our lurk with Ghost Hands, who is currently sporting a level 1 harm black eye, courtesy of Skelly.
Duly noted. You're never going to let Skelly live that down, I suppose. That's gonna be fun. That's gonna be absolutely delightful. And last but not least, Jeoi.
Hello, hello, Jeoi Going Lin, pronouns he, they. I am a game and fiction writer, and in this game, I play Crossroads, pronouns it's a hull that was a former whisper that has currently been holding lots of bodies. It has a bird inside its head and bombs inside its body. This will not be a problem whatsoever for anyone, hopefully.
We believe that it won't be. Under no circumstances will it be a problem, I'm sure. But yes, when last we left our strange friends, Casta was tied up in a chair, unconscious, and then conscious, and then unconscious again. After not only triggering a great deal of emotional anguish for Skelly, but revealing a great deal of information about Casta's connection to Aldo Booker, what was happening in the warehouse, and even information about other players in the weird, still very confusing mystery about the Cindered Seal that everybody keeps talking about. And after having that experience of the worst and most awkward interrogation session ever, um, Skelly was going through it for a time and is presently unconscious, having passed out from overwhelming emotional trauma that we will deal with very shortly. But before that happens, while we note that Skelly is like lying in bed presently, recovering from that emotional wound, I want to check in with Crossroads. So, Crossroads, the night before, when interrogating Casta happened, um, you saw all of your friends have quite a time. Uh, Ring had to knock a stranger out. Um, Skelly is asleep after like being very emotionally overwhelmed. Um, your other friend Ash is presently seriously injured. Um, like a whole black eye as a result of all of the other conflict that has been previously noted. Um, but also, while you were there before and during that interrogation, you noted some like generally weird things about that entire experience. About the experience of what it's like to see someone not be possessed but behave in ways that you can only process as that kind of middle ground between possession and pure emotional anger. Um, and then there's Casta herself, who was seemingly stoic and unfazed the entire time that they were being physically assaulted, being interrogated and threatened with torture by people who are very clearly cast as enemies. You have a lot of collected emotional information for a situation that kind of doesn't make sense for physical reactions among persons that you're still trying to compute. How has that experience been from that evening to the morning?
So Crossroads knows it's not very smart, compared to all of its friends who are made of meat. And Crossroads knows it doesn't have a brain because it's not made of meat. All of its friends are the ones who have brains. So it's their job to figure out what to do with all the feelings, especially Ring, who is very smart and probably has the largest brain out of all of them. So Crossroads is going to basically stand creepily by each person throughout the night, either as itself or as the bird in its head, and just watch them for clues as to how to behave or if they're perhaps falling apart. That's another thing too.
And you're doing this while they were asleep, yes?
Yes. Because that's what friends do.
I will take your word for it that that is a thing that friends do.
Crossroads is a very well-adjusted, neat friend.
I would like you to give me a roll.
What kind of role shall it be?
We are attempting to discern at this moment. Well, the role is to see if you learn something as a result of watching them.
I guess that would be a study role?
It can be. This is the part where I tell you that, as with most other things, it can also be a tune if you wish.
Considering that we also saw Runa last time, Crossroads would be inclined to attune, but I think if it was just standing there watching people, it wouldn't attune until there was some indication, like maybe the person's tossing and turning in their nightmares or something, which would cause them to attune. But if they're just lying there peacefully being asleep, then it would just be steady. So I guess that would depend on the state of the person that Crossroads is watching.
Okay, so first we should discern then, who are you watching first?
The first person that I would watch probably, Crossroads would watch probably, after everybody has already gone to sleep, is probably Ring.
Okay.
Because Crossroads would watch Skelly until everyone goes to bed, and then Crossroads would move on to Ring. Because Ring is its brain. Ring is Crossroads' brain.
Okay. Nice.
I don't like how you rubbed your hands together. That makes me very nervous.
You
I'm sure
mustn't.
it's fine.
You mustn't like it. You should be suspicious of a GM's bodily movements at all times. I would like you to give me a survey or study roll.
I shall do a study roll because that's the one I have a dot in.
Nice. Cool. Your position is controlled, and your
Controlled.
effect is standard.
Okay. No bonus dice.
I will give you a bonus die for your sensorium.
Oh, yes. I'm listening to your heart, Ring. My wonderful brain. I have rolled. It is a 2 and a 3 for those who cannot see the screen.
That's not very good. I mean, your sensorium has to pick up something, so I have to give you something.
At baseline, it can pick up a heartbeat.
Yes. So the thing that you notice... Ring,
Uh-oh.
give me a 1 die fortune roll, please.
All right. Da, da, da. Fortune for Ring. Five.
Ah, okay. You are actually sleeping quite restfully this one time. Crossroads, you notice the normal heartbeat and normal, rapid eye movement, reaction of somebody who just seems to be sleeping soundly. There is nothing of note, one way or the other, for you to observe. You're watching someone being asleep.
Crossroads likes that. Crossroads is going to prepare some clothes to put on Ring because that's what friends do also. And then Crossroads will go watch somebody else.
Okay, give me
That noise.
God, what? Hold on. Give me a finesse or prowl roll. To determine how peacefully the experience of preparing clothes for Ring will go.
I really, really am afraid by how you describe that. I have equal dots in finesse and prowl.
Which is noteworthy because the position for them both will be risky.
Okay. I'll say finesse just because prowl makes it sound like there's a deliberate sneakiness to it, but Crossroads is just being helpful to friend. So, you said the position is risky?
Yes, risky.
Okay.
And your effect is
Uh-oh.
your sensorium allows you to see in the dark with ease, doesn't it?
Going as written, it allows me to see, quote unquote, through walls and hear heartbeats. That's as written. So if we're going like it's a Daredevil type thing, I guess it lets me see, quote unquote, in the dark.
Yeah, it would stand
that-
to reason that if it clarifies that it lets you see without that distinction being about like picking up the heat signals or motion detection of other creatures, it should be possible for you to determine inanimate objects as well. You are essentially genuinely seeing in the dark. So that means that your position is risky, but your effect is standard.
Okay. No bonus dice.
One bonus die for the sensorium.
Okay.
I think
And some
is fair.
Okay. One bonus dice. A 6, a 1, and a 6. So 2 sixes.
Good
That's a
lord.
crit.
I have
You critted
critted.
on looking for clothes?
I looked for the
Crossroads.
clothes with my
Oh,
chest.
Butler.
This is
Best
wild.
valet.
This is wild. I don't think anyone's critted in weeks. And we just wasted the one karma point for a crit on finding clothes for a sleeping ring. Cool.
But Ring has had a really hard time. Ring deserves really great clothes.
Cool. What's the
And a
best?
seamless
Oh my god.
and a seamless being dressed experience.
Ring? We're going to presume, for the sake of convenience, that at the Grave Cave, sometime in the middle of having discovered this underground base, everyone already just kind of made the given easy assumption that they needed clothes here in order to continue working in this space. So what are the best clothes that you have in a closet at the Grave Cave?
It would probably be it's like an old outfit made for Ring by their old squad mate, who is the person that gives them the dedicated costumer bonus. Mm-hmm. And so this is Lizette. And so it's probably like an embroidered collared shirt with like black work on the collar, across the shoulder, and at the cuffs, that goes with a pleated like a kind of knee-length pleated skirt, and then a like bolero jacket that to about here. Mm-hmm. And then the bolero jacket is embroidered in gold.
That's very nice. Crossroads, you open the like very small kind of like dusty loose doored wardrobe in this room, and like focus on the clothes that you see there, and your lenses just kind of immediately focus on, ooh, these clothes are nice, and you take them out and lay them down gently on the bed beside Ring. Are you going to observe anyone else yet?
Crossroads feels very pleased at this sign of friendship and goes to watch our black-eyed friend, Ash.
Nice. Ash, give me a 2-die fortune roll.
Ooh-hoo. That's a 2 and a 4.
Right. I will mention it aloud. I will mention it aloud after we discover what the Crossroads notice is. Crossroads. You're free to give me another study roll. Again, it can also be a tune if you wish.
Um, study first to see if Ash is not doing okay. What shall the position be? The previous one was controlled and standard,
Yes.
for reference.
It is still control standard. I have a devil's bargain for you. It's the idlest devil's bargain for an act of observation of your sleeping
Okay.
friends, but I still have it.
Okay, what's the devil's bargain?
If you fail, that is, if you roll 1 to 3, um, you will immediately attune at extreme effect.
What? Narratively, how would this work?
You do not know.
No, I mean, like, narratively speaking, what would be the plausible explanation for Crossroads inexplicably attuning at extreme effect while watching their friends sleep?
Because you're watching your god-haunted friends sleep. That's
Yeah.
why.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true. Okay.
the narrative impetus is weird stuff happens in the room.
You know what? Sure, I'll take that.
Good lord. Okay, cool. So you have one bonus die.
All right, effect standard, 1 bonus die. Ba-ba-da-da. It's a 1 and a 2.
Wow. Well, give me that attune roll then. Your position is desperate.
Yeah.
Your
Andy.
effect
I
is
love this game.
extreme.
Okay.
I am surely playing this game wrong, and I enjoy it. But still.
All Skelly did was punch Ash. Like, this is.
I
no
love how
bonus
Ash,
dice,
who
I'm
is
guessing.
basically made of paper stats-wise, is the one who's taken the most physical damage throughout this entire campaign.
I forgot you got shot.
Yeah, Ash is going through a lot. Ash didn't have an immediate personal connection to anyone when this business started, and has suffered the most physical trauma out of all of you. Imagine meeting 3 people at a funeral, discovering that you all idly have the deceased in common, and then just constantly getting stabbed every time you go out with these 3 people.
It would have been
no
much
bonus
worse if
dice
we
to the
didn't have
attune
the deceased in common.
This is true. Yes, Jeoi?
No bonus dice to the attune roll.
1
Just to
bonus
clarify.
die.
1 bonus die to the attune roll.
Good lord, good lord, good lord. Don't
Here
crit.
we go. A 3, a 2, a 3, and a 1. So that's not bad.
Okay, you loom over the sleeping body of Ashlyn Pharos, of the flame, the ash. You see nothing, you sense nothing. Very little is immediately taking place in this moment. Out of the corner of your eye, you see what is obviously the shape of a human body shift, like right next to the window. When you turn to face it, you do not see anything there. It wasn't a curtain. There are no curtains in the room. You have
Did
no
it
idea.
register on my sensorium?
Not on your sensorium. Just it registered as ocular input that the rest of your sensorium did not acknowledge.
Okay, Crossroads attunes on purpose this time.
Okay, cool. Your position is risky, and your effect is still extreme. 1 bonus die because you're actively using your sensorium.
Oh no. I apologize in advance, Ash, if this goes absolutely terribly. Submitting. It's a 2, a 4, a 3, and a 5.
Okay. You... How do I describe this? Okay, cool. So you turn to see where this thing comes from. Your lenses shift, like the ocular apertures around your lenses, like flip through several different settings at once. If somebody was awake to see it, it would be kind of obvious that there is a kind of a kind of electroplasmic shimmer over your lenses at this point. Um, and you see like this small, like clouded, staticky cluster of like something like electroplasm, but like softer, less solid, like kind of slowly expand and then very quickly contract near the corner of the room. You suspect that you have very briefly seen um like a distortion in the ghost field appear in the room and then disappear.
So it disappeared. It's not there anymore.
It is not there anymore. You see it disappear.
Oh. Crossroads observes that corner for some time until it feels nothing bad is going to happen anymore, and then it gets closed for Ash.
Okay. While that's happening, let's just briefly get to Ash. You are not sleeping well.
Mm-hmm. Probably
You,
because everything hurts.
yeah, you briefly have a thing that you are not sure is a dream or not about you just walking endlessly across the horizon of the ghost field alone, um with something pressed against the eye that is not black, but that is the eye that hurts here. And every time you attempt to consciously perceive what it is you are holding against that black eye, the thing changes. Once it was a pack of peas. Once it was like a towel with some broken chips of ice wrapped inside it. Sometimes it's like a pound and a half of raw bloody meat. And at some point it's just like, I don't want to think about what this is anymore. I just want to sleep. I'm not sure if I'm asleep right now, but I'm going to assume that because this is happening, I must sleep. So I'm just gonna stop thinking about what's in my hand and keep walking until this stops. It still feels like you've been walking for days. I'm so sorry.
I mean, walk it off. That is basically the ethos of Severosi culture.
Fair enough. Um. So yes. You find Crossroads. You find um functionally clean clothes, not very special in any way or form. It's like a nice blouse, a nice pair of pants, clean shoes. Um, and you put it on the bed beside Ash.
And now it is Skelly's turn.
Um, when you enter the room, give me an attune roll. Your position is controlled and your effect is extreme. Plus,
Attune roll.
in fact,
Position
no.
controlled.
Yeah, position controlled.
Mm-hmm.
Effect extreme.
Mm-hmm.
I was debating whether you get a bonus die, but you do not.
Okay. No bonus die. That is a 4, a 5, and a 4.
Cool. You know that there are two people in the room. You open the door, like, very carefully, very gingerly, and a figure in a rocking chair, right beside Skelly's bed, like, suddenly shoots out of the chair. Jesus. Do you know what time it is?
I'm guessing this is Melvier?
It is.
Oh, okay.
His
Crossroads does
heart
not
is
try to kill
racing.
him.
The parts of your ocular machinery that are capable of determining, like, like the parts of your ocular machinery that are capable of detail under low light can genuinely tell that Melvir is somewhere between pure fright and pure rage. And like he storms up to me, he's like, "It's the dead of night. What are you doing?"
Crossroads looks at him, and out of character, I just realized that as a gigantic mechanical bird-headed thing, Crossroads would be terrifying, like walking around in the dark. But
a large iron bird just opened the door where someone who is already like very very tired and very exhausted and very injured is lying asleep, and the only person awake in the room is the doctor who cannot fight. Of course he's very upset.
Also, I blew up his house.
You blew up his house. You nearly killed Skelly's pet right in front of him. The very first time you all met, you nearly electrocuted him to death. Yeah. Melvir doesn't like you.
That's okay. Crossroads hasn't realized that yet. Crossroads looks at Melvir, and to answer his implied question of "Can't you tell the time?" Crossroads responds, "I am not a clock. I am Crossroads. I'm watching my friends."
It's like talking to a child that can bend steel.
I watched Ring, and then I watched Ash, and now I'm watching Skelly. I can watch you too. We are friends.
I'm watching Skelly. Rest assured that I, who have been watching Clarissa Skelcallan for years before y'all met, can watch her just fine. You can go charge or whatever it is you do in the night when you're not terrorizing living things, and I'll be here. I'm good.
I don't terrorize living things. I guard the birds, and I discover, and I labor. Those are my functions.
Ah, those are your functions. So you tried killing me twice for fun? That was a hobby? Cool. Pleasant.
What is fun?
Please leave. Please leave. I'm good. It's good. It's fine. Skelly's cool. Skelly is
You are upset.
I am. Skelly is well taken care of. You can go back to whatever robots sleep. I will tell you how she was in the morning. Go, please me. Please move. Please.
Crossroads, while he is doing this, thinks about what Ring would do, because Ring is its brain. And then Crossroads says, "You should put out clothes for Skelly. That's extremely important. For the morning. People need clothes."
Melvir kind of like shifts very briefly from rage and confusion. You could tell like his demeanor is kind of softened a bit, like legitimately when you say that, and says, "I'll make sure to do that."
"Thank you very much," says Crossroads, because that's what Ring Dalmor would do. And then, without saying goodnight, turns around and goes back outside and closes the door, and then turns around to face the door and watches Skelly through the door with its sensorium.
Give me...
Because that's what Ring Dalmor would do.
First, give me a 1-die fortune roll. Wait, no, it's not a fortune roll. Hold on. It's not a fortune roll. Hold on. Is it a... Hold on. Mm, give me a study roll.
A
Your
study roll.
your position is risky and your effect is limited.
Effect limited. Da, 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 da. No bonus die because Crossroads is not trying particularly hard. It is a 3. Middle of the road study roll.
Cool. Everything that you just said is not anything that Ring would have done. But you don't know that. Now give me the study roll for actually observing Skelly.
Okay. My position?
Your position is controlled and your effect is limited.
Uh-huh.
One
Controlled,
bonus
limited. 1 bonus die for the sensorium, I presume.
die.
That is a 3 and a 3.
Somewhat muddle the data because you can't really tell at this distance if some of the movement that you're picking up is Skelly shifting in sleep or just heart rate and eye movement. But as far as you can tell, Skelly is sleeping soundly at this point. Skelly, I would like you very much to give me a 2-die fortune roll.
Okay, here we go. And it's a 3 and a 4.
Okay. Not ideal, but not terrible. There is a moment while you sleep, otherwise mostly dreamlessly, where you have another version of a dream or a vision that you've had previously. You're in a room. There is a large banquet table ahead of you, and you are sitting at what is the center of that table with a very large plate in front of you. And dozens of butlers are like entering and leaving the room from all sides, showing you all of the dishes that are in each of those plates and each of those bowls that have been covered on this banquet table, and asking you if you want any, and very eagerly taking large spoons and ladles and placing them into your plate. And every time you take a spoon or a fork to take a bite of those things, it looks even more delicious when you lift it up out of the plate and then you bring it to your face and it is gone. And you do that maybe 5 or 6 or 7 times. Your body is just like, at some point, if I move fast, the food must do the thing, right? It's food, it's right in front of me. And as you keep doing that, you notice that the dishes that you have failed to eat start disappearing on the banquet table and start being replaced by other silver plates. And when the butlers lift the covers on those silver plates, you now see place cards with the names of children from the orphanage. Just those place cards, not anything particularly gruesome, but you see them and you're like, I remember that kid. That kid was actually really cool. That kid was really smart. We had a lot of very interesting conversations at that orphanage. We never really spoke, but they seemed like a cool one. They didn't get in much trouble. And as more of those dishes start disappearing, you notice that on the other side of the banquet table, Casta is sitting with large plates all around her, surrounded by food. It's like massively just gorging herself on every single plate that arrives in her direction, and is looking you dead in the eye as she does it. Every once in a while, she will like lift like a fistful of spaghetti and meatballs, or like three fingers of the front corner of a slice of cheesecake, and like gesture to you like, hey, you want it? You hungry, right? You want? Nope. Nope. Right in front of you. And it feels like that's happening for hours. You haven't been in this bed for more than 4 hours. You don't know that. You're just having a dream. But it feels like you've been at this table all night. It doesn't feel good. You do not feel rested at all. But that's gonna keep happening until you wake up.
Oh no.
And with that, we enter into the morning. Everybody, if I'm not mistaken, has their full complement of free downtime actions except for Ring and Crossroads. So I'm gonna check in with Ring first. You get up. You see that the finest clothes that you have in this, it's stored for you in this place, is resting on your bed.
Ring, I think, is surprised until they think through, like, okay, who else is here? Oh, Crossroads doesn't sleep, does it?
Yeah, Crossroads doesn't need to sleep. It just needs to charge.
So this is mostly a question to discuss with Iori and Jeoi. What did we do with Casta? Because that knockout powder that I had was good for an hour. So we will want to have done a more sturdy way of taking care of her if we were getting away to sleep for some hours.
So I think the question is, like, did we leave her there, or did we beach her the way we did Mr. Half Crickets? The officer who we have only 90% killed. The officer who I think, yes, I have marked him as 0.9 on our people killed chart.
He is statistically in our notes as 9/10 of a murder.
Yes.
Because on one hand, she was incredibly helpful and provided a bunch of information, but also she seems to be truly loathsome.
And also one of the best with a gun or a knife that you've met in 8 days. So at some point you'll should have considered the cost benefit analysis of knowing that she doesn't give a damn what you have to do with Aldo anymore at this point, but still has a grudge with all of you, and especially your best friend.
Yes.
Crossroads, just because the last time we were in a warehouse, we left someone on the beach. Crossroads would be like, obviously we're gonna do that again, right? And like, look at Ring, who is their brain.
Ash would also be in favor of it because she thinks leaving somebody between the tide lines that way is technically giving them a chance, right? We're leaving it up to God. And that's how she's rationalizing that this is a murder adjacent action.
Yeah, and so here's the version I'm gonna pitch. Ring says, well, you know, I think it's fair to give her a shot. She provided a lot of information, but you know, we all carry around our guilt. And I figure that each link of this chain can represent one of the lives that she's taken and some children that she's endangered, and she can carry that guilt with her as she tries to escape judgment. Thunk.
Oh God!
Love it.
Do you really just throw her into the void sea?
I mean, not
I
as
think we'll
thrown
just
into
leave her on the low end of the tide line so that the water gets there pretty quick.
Yeah.
Crossroads points out when Ring gets really poetic, although it doesn't know that's what the word is, poetic. It just thinks that Ring is being really smart in ways it doesn't understand. It says, I was listening. Her heart didn't sound very guilty.
Well, then we'll just have to let these chains do that work for her, won't we?
Okay.
Crossroads looks at its body and considers what this body is supposed to function as.
And so when Casta awakes, if Casta gets out, there is a folded note tucked deep enough in to be less likely to get soaked and disintegrated, that says, we never see or hear from you again. You know what we can do, Ring.
Noted. Ring.
Mm-hmm.
Before we shoot back into the present moment, I'm gonna linger in this flashback for a little bit. Can you give me a 3-die fortune roll, please?
Sure thing. Is there any description I should give to this?
The note that I want you to write for stares horizontally. No one's gonna get that but me, but I'm so clever to myself.
631.
Delightful. This session has an after credits sequence. That's all I'm going to say. When we're done doing the thing, I need to describe a thing to you. Please remind me not to forget to describe the thing to you. But we come back to the present moment then. Yeah, the morning is yours. You get to decide what you want to do. We still haven't heard you decide whether you're going to wear the clothes that are waiting for you on the bed.
So I think Ring is going to... Yes, they will wear those clothes, because what I'm going to do with my downtime action is reduce heat. And Ring is going to walk the neighborhood and basically smooth things over and glad hand with people, which is basically get the porters in order, make sure that they're doing things for the neighbors, and basically reassert cultural capital to head off or reinforce the local support of community members in order to basically turn the chaos rivulets of heat and attention away from the crew.
Okay.
And make sure they flow elsewhere. So I would like to roll Consort.
Consort would be very good. Remind me how many dots you have in Consort?
3.
3 is good. I just want to check the crew sheet for fugitives to see what cool things you have.
Let's see.
Okay.
We don't have Slippery, which would give us a bonus on reducing heat, I believe.
It would indeed have done so. Wait, no, it would have given you bonuses if you did successfully reduce heat at some point.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to get down to 0 for no traces, but I would like to get down from 7, looks like we're at.
Yes, you are indeed at 7, which is a big deal. Okay, so Consort is good.
All right, so I can do a 3-die fortune roll for that. Let's see, I could get a bonus with a friend or ally. Would Dern be available to help with this? Or should I go to somebody else?
Right, I will give you... On a very logical narrative level, either Dern or any one or more individual porters would be more than happy to help you do so.
Okay.
What I'm going to say on on a narrative beat, just because I think that it's cool and the kind of thing that would have happened in that world, is if you rely on more than one porter instead of Dern, I will give you 2 bonus dice instead of the 1 to to mechanically represent all of these kids literally just spreading out over the city to let folks know, hey, Ring Dalmo has a message to send you about all of the weird stuff that has happened in the last 3 days.
If it's okay, I think Ring would, as both a form of punishment and a way to keep an eye on them and basically get some information out of them in between other things, recruit the 3 kids who were unaccounted for, except that they filtered back in some point overnight upon basically going to where the porters are quartered.
Mm-hmm.
Discover these kids and say, great, thank you for volunteering to go out with me today on the errands.
I love this. So I just want to very briefly establish that flashback in like typical sitcom fashion. These 3 kids get back to Dern's hideout in the middle of the day. They try to briefly tiptoe themselves through one of the back doors. And Ring is like lurking literally in the door's shadow, like where the door opened. Ring is just like standing right behind there, waiting for the door to close again, and goes, "Oh, hey, y'all are back. Y'all are ready to do the thing? Okay, cool. Let's do the thing." They look like they haven't slept or eaten a large meal since the warehouse thing. They look haggard. They look absolutely exhausted.
We'll get a nice breakfast on the way out because Ring is not actually that mean to children.
Yeah, definitely. But like, they're like, is this... Are we being punished? Is this just work, or is this a punishment? You can never tell with Mr. Ring. This is like a lot.
A flashback to any of that. So that's 3 for consort, 2 for bringing porters. So that's a 5 die fortune roll. Reduce heat through aggressive helpfulness. Reduce heat through aggressive helpfulness. Only 1 6.
Okay.
1 4 4 6 5. No crit, alas. But a 6 is enough to reduce heat by 3.
Yes, which is still good.
And that means, I believe, that takes us to 4 heat or less, which will give us a bonus for passing ourselves off as ordinary citizens.
Indeed.
We're extremely normal people.
So
nothing to see here.
I have removed 3 ticks of heat.
That's why they call us the normal friends.
Yep. And that is Ring.
Cool. So I will cut then to Ash. You wake up in the morning and your eye hurts. You are briefly confused as to which eye hurts because you've spent all night thinking that it's one eye, only to wake up and discover that it's the other, and then you're like, oh right, this is where I was actually hit. But other than that, the day is yours. There's clothes waiting for you on the bed.
Ash is briefly confused because we crashed at Dern's. I don't have clothes here. Whose clothes even are these? But also, Ash has been working in antiques long enough that she's not bothered by vintage. And she thinks for a moment and then it figures, right. I have put clothes on the tall friend many times. The tall friend is now putting clothes on me. Reciprocity in our relationships. And she is briefly heartwarmed by this.
Nice.
As for how we will actually use the downtime action, Ash wants to go back to her shop and go through her records to see if there's anything she's ever handled. Like, see if anything in her records triggers memories of people behaving weirdly about it and or trying to use children to handle it, to see if perhaps some artifact has come through without her really grokking what it was. But given how things have been, she's not going to want to go there alone. So she's going to be skulking around the house waiting for someone else to wake up.
Guess who doesn't need to wake up?
Guess who's already awake?
That's my secret, Captain. I am always awake.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah.
Was that a Galaxy Quest Thermian voice?
It was a Crossroads voice, but
Okay.
with personality.
I like it.
Yes. So you stumble around the warehouse only to realize after several minutes of walking past a perfectly stationary crossroads, that crossroads was awake the whole time and was literally looking at you pace up and down right around it the entire time.
You can say good morning next time. If I'm already vertical, you can assume I'm awake.
Good morning.
Good morning. Do you want to run an errand?
Crossroads perks visibly because Crossroads likes to do things when it's told to do things because it's a hull. What is the errand?
We have to go back to the shop and read things. And then
I
Ash
read
frowns.
that ransom note at your shop on a brick.
We will be reading longer things this time. And they will not be on bricks, I hope.
No.
It's good to practice reading. I will
And
go
Ash
with
is just
you.
internally relieved because she was not entirely sure how literate Crossroads was. Like, is that something you have to relearn in a whole body? Do you just keep that ability when you get transferred into a whole body? She doesn't know. She thinks it's probably rude to ask. But we set out over the snow and back to the shop.
Crossroads is very deep in wondering what Ring Dalmor would do. So, Crossroads would definitely ask if Ash is worried they may be detected or spied upon, because it doesn't have hiding clothes anymore. So everyone will know it's not made of meat. So it will go as small roads.
Mm,
So Ash gets a bird friend
yes.
to go
Bird
with
friend
you.
fits in a handbag. So this works.
Nice. So, for the audio listeners of the podcast, there are now hand bird heads in on camera, and it's the loveliest thing ever. So you get back to the shop. You know where all of your ledgers are. You know where all your inventory documents are. You personally, when you ran the shop, started writing your own documents in the common script of Dustfall, but the family member who you inherited the shop from, and the person who had the shop before them, their ledgers are all still here, and their ledgers are in Hadrati, which you can read. So you have like 18 years of documents here, tracing back to artifacts you have never seen before. So if you wanted to gather information with all of these documents, you can very well do so.
I would like to. Is that going to be... Oh, god damn it. That's going to be a study which I have no dots in.
That's unfortunate because it can only be a study.
Yes.
Crossroads
So my
has
position
studies,
is...
but Crossroads can't read Hadrati.
Okay, so here's the
Crossroads
very
can't read Hadrati?
Crossroads cannot read it.
Yes, Crossroads will not be able to read it.
Okay.
Because even if it did possibly know a language tied to its own potential mystical origin, that language would not be Hadratio Severosi.
Mm-hmm.
I will make a case, however, just idly. If you wanted to attune these documents, if either of you wanted to attune these documents, that's perfectly possible. Even for Ash. Ash, you know
Another
that's a
skill
terrible
I don't
idea.
have any dots in.
Well, Ash would... If Ash said, okay, help me read these, and Crossroads was immediately confronted with stuff in a language it could not read, it would cock its bird head and then go in its bird brain, well, I may as well use this skill that I do have because maybe it would help me read, and then attune at the books.
And like,
Okay.
the shop is not even in Ash's direct line of inheritance. She got this from like a second aunt a remove away because so few people have actually left her family. It's a sort of nomadic group.
Okay. So this is going
what
to be
I
delightful.
am saying there is like, she is not super used to this particular person's handwriting quirks.
This is going to be wild. This is going to be a lot of fun.
I think another case too for Crossroads attuning, as opposed to it going, well, I have used all the skills at my disposal, may as well try this one, is that you could also make the case that it pings on something from its past life of using attune to scry markings or the tracings of bird flights through the air, and so it looks at this writing that it can't read and thinks, oh, maybe it's oracle patterns, and then attunes to try and understand them.
So, with that in mind, Ash,
will study.
your study roll has desperate position and limited effect.
Any bonus die?
I have a devil's bargain for you.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Narratively, the devil's bargain is that referring to all of these documents reminds you, or rather allows you to learn as an aside, that that the shop, and as a result you, are tangentially related to the sale of a live demon that has a note in its statement of sale that after a certain reasonable period of time has passed, you would need to verify the state of that demonic trade in order to event like large scale calamity from taking place as a result of negative repercussions of that trade, and that would start a 4 clock to check up on that demon.
If I don't take this devil's bargain, is that clock going to run anyway, except I just won't know about it in character?
Narratively, yes, but because you don't know, it's none of your business. Also,
I love it when things are none of my business, so not
May
today,
your
Satan.
problems be someone else's
Cool.
problems.
I mean, those are the rules, right? And Crossroads, I want you to know before both of you roll, so I can see both of those rolls immediately. Your attune roll is risky position, great effect,
Okay.
+1 die because of the similarity that it shares with other oracular performances that you did that you can vaguely remember since before you were Crossroads.
Okay.
Okay, let's roll.
Clicking submit now.
Whoop! That's a 1 on study.
That's a
And
6,
I am
a
marking
2.
my desperate XP.
That's a 6, a 2, a 4, and a 1 for Crossroads on Attune. Risky, great. Uh-oh.
Hey, cool. Somewhere in Brightstone, an amphora starts wiggling in someone else's bedroom, but that is none of your business. You read these ledgers and you can see nothing. You can more or less make out all of these transactions perfectly fine. None of them strike you as particularly hostile or otherwise noteworthy with respect to the research that you're attempting to do. Crossroads, you tilt your bird head to one side and stare at these piles of books. You're not even looking at any particularly open book, you're just looking at the concept of all of these ledgers right in front of you. And as you keep doing this for 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 seconds, all of the glass on all of the display cases in the shop start rattling. Very idly, not particularly threateningly, but nobody knows that because those aren't supposed to just move like that. And you notice very strangely, you can see, even in the closed books, you can see visions of text kind of slide out of the pages and hover into the air in front of you. And you can see lines of the ledgers start rearranging right in front of you into what forms a very long page of transactions right in front of you, hovering into the air. The ones that are most recent are first, which are in Common Duskwall script. And as far as you can see, they're not uniquely related. Someone bought an antique spoon, someone sold a small silver tray that they said they got from their great aunt before she passed, but have no use for it because they now live alone. And then it starts devolving into some Hadrathi transactions that you can't read, but looking at them, you know that a thing is happening here. And based on the early observation that you have made, and just a kind of inkling that you get from looking at it, every item here either is or was an artifact of the Forgotten Gods. 2 of them are still in this room. And the vague presumption that you get about the Hadrathi text that you cannot read is that many of these transactions were done by people who were eagerly trying to get rid of something because it was a product of great calamity in their own personal lives, or thought it was worth a lot of money at the time because it didn't immediately belong to them, and sold it just before the remnants of that potential calamity affected them anyway. You can just tell, looking at this document, several of these buyers and sellers are seriously injured or dead already at this point. And you know that there are 2 items here. But those 2 items were marked in Hadrati, so you don't know what they are. You just know that you get the feeling that they're referring to objects that are still present.
Whoopsie doodle.
Crossroads, to Ash's point of view, is being a bird, a Death Seeker crow, just crowing out, doing a thing, and then suddenly explodes into a flurry of movement, just like pulling out the pages and like flipping the books to all the lines where the attune lines of the entries are shimmering out of, and goes this one, 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 like pecking at all the entries and going this one, this one, this one, this one.
Whew.
To Ash.
And
There's like, crows are fairly sizable, so like there's a bit where like kind of angles its head, like grabs one of the smaller letters and like flings it away, flips the one below and is like, that one. Yeah.
Okay. And these are for the 2 items in the shop, right? Brandon, since I can read the Hadrathi, what are my cursed items? And I know the granny jar isn't one of these, because I brought that with me. If it's cursed, that's a different curse.
Wait a minute. Thanks for reminding me about that. You never opened the amphora. You don't know if there's anything inside. You just know that it should have your grandmother's ashes in it. Give me a 2-die fortune roll, Ash.
Okay.
You open the thing and crickets come out.
The mystery of the granny jar, huh?
The Cindered seal was in the amphora the whole time.
Oh my god.
I brought that
Cindered
with
is
me from
another word
Severos,
for
though. That's a
ashes.
3. That's a 3 and a 5. But I brought that with me from Severos, so that would have meant I have been carrying it around since age 7.
Yes. Also, the myth of the creation of the seal would assume that it was forged in more north of the Shattered Isles than Severos. At the very least. So for
What does a 3 and a 5 on the granny jar get me?
Oh no.
So you look at these documents. You look at these lines and you notice that at a point when it couldn't have been here, there was an IOU for the jar. That statement assumes that the jar is empty, except for an object. That is, that they were buying the jar and its contents, but have no mention of remains of any kind or any mention of the dead, because those are specific notes that have been made elsewhere in other ledgers. That if you are trading an object that has touched or contains the remains of blood, ichor, nails, hair, etc. of the dead, that has to be specifically marked so people know that part of the trade is the trade of that body. So this trademark assumes that it was supposed to be sold, wasn't present, and has been marked as collateral for a sale, and that it has no remains in it. But its date was well after Granny died, so you know that it should have had your Granny's ashes at that point in time. But then, what? Why did somebody want it before she died? Why did somebody want it, assuming that it was before she died, while she was dead? And what else is in the jar as a result? Do you open the jar?
Ash has always handled the jar very, very gingerly, because she has always worked under the assumption that Granny's in there. So now she just picks it up, and she gives it a shake. What does she hear?
You don't
Is
hear.
it just the shush 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 of something sort of vaguely ashy and sandy inside, or?
Yeah, you hear briefly what sounds like just dust moving in this amphora, and then you hear like a soft scraping inside. Like if you rattled like a glass or stone pot, and something metal hit the bottom.
Crossroads, remembering while Ash is examining these ledgers, that Runa, during the interrogation, had said something about Crossroads having a connection to these relics because Meat Roads died by being brained in the head with a relic.
Mm-hmm.
Should have something of the site.
Mm-hmm.
So Crossroads is going to try to attune to pick out what the relics are, to see if it can find something different in the ghost field that might mark out two bad objects or spooky objects.
And while Crossroads is doing this, Ash has looked around, realizes she doesn't have any like gunte in the shop, so she winds up grabbing a pair of opera gloves off a shelf and putting them on because we're about to get elbow deep in the granny jar.
Oh my god, this is gonna be so delightful. Let's start with the attune. Desperate Extreme.
And I will say Crossroads is pushing itself for this.
You already gonna get bonus. You already gonna get 1+1 die for the site.
Cool, so that's +2.
You're really gonna? Okay, cool. Okay.
Yeah, I'm
cool.
pushing myself because Crossroads narratively is also trying harder to like find something different, because over time it's been attuning and like feeling more and more out of the ghost field, but this is something that it's never perceived before. So it's actively seeking to try and do something different.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so 2 bonus dice. Submit. Wow, a 4 and 4 2s.
I think there should be some sort of extra points for 4 of a kind.
We are not playing. We're not playing Texas Hold'em. We are playing Blades in the Dark. I'm very sorry. So what I was going to tell you before you decided to attune in the first place is, your sight can confirm that a thing is present and noteworthy. Anything else is worthy of observation. So you see Ash pick up the pot, rattle it. You hear lots of things happening in that jar. I mean, lots of things. You are hearing noises that you have never heard an inanimate object make before. But you can't really make out much about those inanimate sounds. But then you hear the scraping and you're like, yeah, that sounds like jewelry. That sounds like when Runa would just take off her rings or her earrings and just like put it in this large bowl that's on the table and just like fish them out whenever she needs to look pretty at somewhere else. So it immediately strikes you as like, that sounds like a ring in a clay pot. Maybe it's a ring. You look at it and you see a ring-shaped thing. You'd like see the vague outline of what looks like a metal in the shape of a ring covered in piles of stuff that are making noises. Ash,
I would like to make the case that I should be allowed to use either Tinker or Finesse to open the jar.
Oh yeah, Finesse definitely opens the jar. Your position is controlled and your effect is standard.
Controlled. Standard. Any bonus dice?
I have a devil's bargain.
Let's hear what the devil has to say.
I mean, you're dealing with remains in Duskwall. It stands to reason that there may be negative consequences to opening this jar. If you don't take the devil's bargain, that is not the case. But if you do, there will be a 4 o'clock marked Spirit of the Deceased.
I will not take that because I'm really worried that it is still Granny.
Yeah,
She
that's
was
fair.
mean.
I can
No
only...
bonus dice. That is a 3.
Okay, I'm gonna
I
ask...
shove my opera glove clad hand into this jar, and what do I get?
Okay, so finesse is to open the jar. So before we can observe the contents of the jar, now I have to ask you how precious you, as the player of the game, are about this jar, so I can determine whether you just don't open it or if it breaks.
I, the player, am quite eager for it to break. Ash, the character, is very, very alarmed and superstitious.
Both of these things are perfect. You try to very gingerly pull the stopper off of this amphora. Instead, you try and fail to tug, and the effort that you're applying with both hands is such that before you even notice that you are applying way too much pressure than you've ever had on an antique, your right hand just grips the top of this amphora so tightly that the entire top half of the bottle shatters in your hand.
Whoops.
You're not cut or anything, but it has just burst, and like the rest of it falls out of your grip and clatters to the ground. That's when you notice a gold ring surrounded by some ash, but also 4-inch fingernails, long strands of hair, and some worms, all of which aren't supposed to be happening when you cremate someone. That is a sight for you to behold very briefly, but when you settle on the ring, when you like lift it out of the worms and the ash, you notice that it is almost so much pure gold that you've never seen a ring of its quality for say like no one's ever brought a ring this good to you before ever. And when you touch it,
If it's that pure, Ash is actually immediately going to think, well, this is just deeply impractical. When it's this high a gold content, it's too soft to wear.
yeah, it should be, but it actually feels quite sturdy. It also feels incredibly warm.
I don't like that. And Ash holds up the ring on her palm and goes, Haunted friend, can you tell what flavor of haunted this is?
Crossroads says, I don't have a tongue to taste.
Oh Lord. Crossroads, your sight while looking at it is already pinging off the charts. It is producing colors that you have never seen with your ocular machinery before. It is like fluctuating in multiple like phases of light, it seems. It's almost as if light is not glancing upon it, but moving through it. You can particularly notice, because you are like vaguely aware of some basic stuff, some basic research stuff that you can vaguely remember Runa having referred to ages ago, before she ever told you that she was a relic hunter, that the image on the front of the ring looks vaguely familiar to you. Give me a 1 die fortune roll.
A 1 die fortune roll coming right up. Roll fortune. 1 dice. Runa study. Submit. That is a 5.
Right. It looks like 2 curved strands coming out from the same center at the bottom, almost like they were the very long and very pointy horns of a ram or goat. You vaguely remember that being related to a forgotten god known as the Ram. You know no details about it whatsoever.
Crossroads, after declaring that it has no tongue to taste things, does a little Borby waddle over and examines the ring and says, "This is a sign of the ram."
Does Ash know anything about the ram? This sounds like an Akarosi god. The name isn't fancy enough to be Severosi.
Yeah, it's a forgotten god. The majority of origins of which stem from further southwest. So give me. Do you have dots in survey?
I do.
Right, give me a survey roll. Your position is controlled and your effect is limited.
Effect is limited. That's a 4 and a 3.
Okay.
Very mediocre rolls today.
You know, like the barest guts of the like myth about the ram. You know that it's. So the forgotten gods don't. Most of the forgotten gods don't belong to anyone. The way that like Severosi history tends to refer to the pantheon is there is a cloud full of gods, and we know the ones that hover above Severos the best. So the ram is one of those that is mostly pan island. Everybody has a version of it. Even if they don't call it by name, a lot of places don't have names for it, but all of them have a unique kind of image of the ram, in much the same way that in the real world there are pagan images that people typically conflate with the devil of Christian lore. The things that you understand both about the Severosi understanding of the ram and other ram-esque stories about the forgotten gods that come from other places is that this is a god of conflict, typically understood as a god of war, but otherwise can also be considered the god of debate. In the cultures where he's considered the god of debate, it is that he believes that a thing is right, and if you do a wrong thing or believe or think a wrong thing as a result, you deserve a punishment that is commensurate with the level of incorrectness. That often represents itself as the typical war imagery of like fire and empowering people to be as good at martial conflict as possible, but also the capacity to either change people's minds, which can also be a level of literal hypnosis or mind control, or to plant suggestions into people's general communal spaces that are so contradictory amongst all of those people that it just becomes an image of discord. That you can use that kind of power essentially to cause a group of people to fight amongst themselves, and then after that fight is done, none of them even remembers what they were fighting about. Only that they were right. But
You've given us the god of Twitter?
Yeah. Oh god.
I was literally typing that in the chat.
Pretty much, kind of. So yeah,
no.
those are the things that you know about the ram. Like most things, unless you are a cultist or are aware of the individual object that is being traded, you have no idea where it ties into that forgotten god's lore. So because you didn't know that this was here, you don't know what it does. But since you can vaguely confirm as a result that it is tied to the ram and that it is actually genuinely fucking cursed, you know that it does something, and it has to be tied to the ram's lore. You just have to figure out what.
Crossroads
I know
definitely
of
tells
any-
Ash that it's a relic.
Do I know of any lore that relates, like a story about the ram encountering either the imperishable wing or the Lady of Thorns?
Um, give me another study roll.
Okay. The thing in which I have no dice. My position is.
Your position is desperate. Mark your XP accordingly.
My
Your
effect is.
your effect is great.
Okay. That's gonna be a 2 from me.
You vaguely recall that there are some stories that you have heard about the ram when you were younger that are almost parallel to stories that you've heard about the Lady of Thorns when you were much older. Like literal palette swap stories. But now you can't remember what the content of those stories were, only that they were the same.
Ash is going to grab a dust cloth and very carefully wipe the ring off and put it in one of those little zippery inner pockets of her purse, because no fucking way is she putting that one on her hand. She's not that dumb. She has limits to how dumb she can be.
You notice while you are wiping the ring that even though nothing about the fabric or consistency of the cloth changes, all of the parts of the cloth that have touched the ring are now turning translucent.
Oh, this is very cursed.
While Crossroads has like relic sight on, does it see the other 2 objects that were listed as relics currently in Ash's shop right now?
The ring is one of the 2.
Okay.
Oh, thank goodness.
You notice in the back, like way past where the boarder would have been sleeping, into one of the like deeper storage areas of the shop, where you recall there are piles of Ashley recalled there are piles of boxes that were here when you got here from its previous owner that you never opened because they were already accounted for and didn't need to trade. Crossroads, you notice a thing is in that box.
Crossroads, while Ash is cleaning the ring, flaps off into the back and starts Burby tearing this box to find the relic.
Give me an attune roll. Desperate Extreme.
Desperate. And with that desperate roll, I fill my resolve bar.
Nice.
I love how many desperate rolls we are making just standing in an empty store.
I mean, you're learning that the gods hate you. Of course this is desperate.
This is an unconscious attune, right?
Yes.
Okay, then I'm not gonna push or anything. So no bonus dice?
1 bonus die because of the
Okay,
sight.
1 bonus die. Okay. And that's a 5, a 6, a 4, and a 2.
Okay. You turn into pure light very briefly and phase through the closed door that leads to the back room. When you get there and start pecking at this box, you notice a large silver bell in the box. This large silver bell looks like the top of the Cindered seal if it was facing upside down. And that's where we're going to end the observation that you've just made. As I briefly cut to a end credits scene for this session, which is Casta is on the beach. When you left Casta on the beach, there were maybe 6 inches from tide. They were like barely getting splashed for the most part. And then, while y'all were inside, the weather changed quite rapidly into a storm that was enough to grab the chain um, around Casta and literally, like, physically drag her into the ocean. It, on screen, looks like, for the briefest of moments, the black, like, pitch dirty water of the void sea very briefly turned into a closed fist, dragged Casta by the back, and threw her into its depths. Casta doesn't awake for entire minutes in the water. There's a point where, in the visual observation of this scene, the only way that you know that you can see Casta is if we are imagining what the depths of the void sea looks like, because we know that it's getting too dark to even know that she's drowning. She's falling entire leagues downward. The chains are, if she were awake, she would tell that the chains are getting heavier, and like all of her insides would be burning with the desire to breathe at this moment. And then she gasps and opens her eyes. She does not see the void sea. She sees the horizon end. And that's the very last thing that we're going to describe for tonight's session of the Case of the Cindered Seal.
What?
Yeah?
What is even happening?
We're gonna.
Y'all had the one
horizon.
thing to do, and now it's gotten so much weirder. And this is the part where after the actual credits have rolled, you just see Casta will appear in season 2. You don't need to worry about Casta for the rest of this season, genuinely, but Casta will reappear for season 2. Just letting you all know. So cool, a lot of things have happened, and you haven't even gone to fight Aldo Booker yet. This is going to be lovely. So now I have to figure out things that 2 relics do. But other than that, how do you all feel about tonight's session?
Because
This was very cursed.
Because Crossroads is not made of meat. Would nothing happen if it put on the ring?
I mean, a thing will happen. I mean, it's a relic of the Forgotten Gods. Something has to happen. It just mightn't be what would happen to someone who's made of meat, that's all.
If I put it on and turn like quasi-invisible because of the translucent thing, that would be hilarious.
I mean, it would be.
Melvir would hate it.
Oh lord.
God.
A massive, hulking hull entering space around Melvir, totally unseen. I think you'd give Melvir a heart attack. I think Melvir would move.
I would like to clarify that Crossroads left clothes out for Melvir in front of Skelly's door for next session.
Wow, noted.
They are friends.
I'm sure Crossroads thinks so.
Crossroads definitely thinks so.
So yeah, that was tonight's session of the Case of the Cindered Seal. Y'all have things. I have deliberately, with the intent of equipping you further for what comes next without requiring much more assets, because I want folks to decide what other assets they would like. Thought that it would be useful to give you the option, what I will admit will be the very cursed option of having some relics to go into the fight with. So that will be things for you to discover. But that will wait until our next session. Until then, I would like you all very much to let all the lovely people in chat know who you are, what you do, and where people can find you. Starting with Mike.
Hi, I'm Michael R. Underwood. I am one of the co-hosts of Speculate, along with Brandon and Greg, aka Arv, the host of the channel here. My latest novel is Annihilation Aria, a found family space opera which pairs wonderfully with Valerie's amazing, super fun, very pop culture savvy space operas that you should absolutely read because they're cool. I stream video games and hopefully soon some like tabletop content of some sort at twitch.tv/turbotango. Currently streaming every Wednesday and Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern US time. So follow me there for lots of fun. I've been tearing through Inscription. The tearing part is mostly like my hair out because it's confusing and WTF BBQ because I'm actually going fairly slowly through the game. My character for this has been Ring Downmore, who is simultaneously the least and most haunted of the strange friends. That's me.
Next, Valerie.
I am Valerie Valdes. You can find me on Twitter at Valerie Valdes. That's with an S if you're listening and not looking at a screen. You can also find me on Twitch at The Kids Are Asleep, which is when I play video games such as Horizon Zero Dawn and Mass Effect 2. And with my husband, currently we are playing Secret of Mana. You can also catch me on Thursdays for co-working sessions. If you're doing NaNoWriMo, I run sprints with music and cat cam. It is pretty fun. And I'm also going to be in an anthology called Bridge to Elsewhere that is currently Kickstartering, so check that one out.
Definitely, please do. Next, Iori.
Kusano Iori, Clarion West class of 2017, they, them pronouns. Find me on Twitter at Iori Kusano, that is IORI. There are no L's in my name. Reviews over at Strange Horizons, full bibliography on my website, kusanoiori.com. And don't forget, LD Lewis, Brent Lambert, Vida Cruz, the rest of the amazing Fiacon team, and I are nominated for a Hugo for Fiacon 2020 as Best Related Work. Voting will be closing in, I think, 4 days. So please do think of us when you are filling out your ballots.
Yes, please do. Firecon was rad. It continues to be rad and will continue to be rad even if it stops existing at some point. So definitely, please vote if you are eligible to vote for the Hugos. And last but not least, Jeoi.
Hello, Jeoi Gawain Lin, he, they pronouns, game and fiction writer, today the player of Crossroads, who still has a bird in its head and bombs in its body. X Whisper Hull, very good stuff. You can find me on Twitter at This Is My Design, capital DASEIN, philosophy and Hannibal pun.
Thank you so very much for that. As for me, I have been your very humble GM this evening, Brandon O'Brien, pronouns he, him, or they, them. I am 1/3 of the Speculate team alongside Michael R. Underwood and Gregory Wilson. The Fugitives play sheet that the crew is playing this evening is a Blades in the Dark crew sheet of my design, which you can find on my page, therisingtides.itch.io, alongside any of the other cool game stuff that I have made, if you are interested. Also worth shouting out, because Iori has shouted out Firecon, Fire Magazine of Black Speculative Fiction is also up for a Hugo. So please, if you are eligible to vote for the Hugos, please give a shout out to the work that the magazine is doing as well. I think the entire team at Fire, regardless of what the project is fully committed to making sure that people of color in this genre are being represented, being seen as whole, complete, holistic creators and not just like random images of their identity, which is particularly important in this genre. So please, if you can vote for the Hugos, definitely give your vote to Firecon in Best Related Work. Definitely give your vote to Fire Magazine in Best Semi-Prozine. I would appreciate that a lot. So with that, I'm going to bid all of my friends adieu for the moment. I will be right back, but please give your love to all of these lovely people in chat, and please, chat, give all of these lovely people who have played this evening all of your love, and I will briefly press a few buttons and disappear as I come over here to again thank you so very much for joining us for tonight's session of the Case of the Cindered Seal. the the randomness that we had planned this evening was not even the randomness that I had initially prepared, and I'm very excited to see how we get from this point further into the end game of this story. So thank you so very much for indulging us in our shenanigans, and I hope that we'll see you soon. Hopefully in early December for more shenanigans, which we will try to confirm as soon as possible so folks will know, because we are rapidly entering the holiday season. If I'm not mistaken, American Thanksgiving is literally next week Thursday. So I want to be able to uh, be aware of as much stuff in terms of content for this channel as possible before things get crazy for everyone. Because I definitely want to make sure that at least one of the things that I GM on this channel still happens. We have, as I will mention later on again, Sound Clash is happening later this month. I want to see if we can still have Sound Clash in December as well as a session of the case of the Cindered Seal. But of course, that is dependent on everyone's holiday stress, which is a fluctuating continuum for everyone, so we shall see. But even if that doesn't happen, I hope that you enjoyed this evening's session of the case of the Cindered Seal. Thank you so very much for joining us. I want to give a special shout out first and foremost to Greg, to Arvan Elleron, for consistently giving me an opportunity to do these weird and silly things on this channel. I'm very grateful to be a member of the Speculate crew and to be able to bring the case of the Cindered Seal to you all as a story. Thank you so very much to our mods. Hold on. Let me see the thing. Twitch, are you okay? Twitch just did a thing to me. Okay, cool. Thank you so very much to our mods, Arudinel and Trifidi Mats. As Arvan Elleron constantly says, you are the best mods in the business, and I definitely agree. Thank you so very much for keeping this community and this chat a nice and safe place for people to interact. Thank you for your support with the commands as well. I was just about to ask whether we could get a bag of giving command, and immediately Arudinel did the thing. Thank you so very much, Arudinel, for that bag command. That will be very useful tomorrow as we have our first bag of giving stream, which is Fall of Magic, which I'll shout out again in a little bit. Thank you to everyone who came to watch tonight's stream. Crit Twitch, Foxy Fresh, Gigafrost, Johnson22, Caro Hemd, Kusano Iori, Mapricot, Mrs. Dunsill, Prince Justin, Saint Pomelo, Skip Talk, Soul Wolf __, Spike Trap Claire, The Kids Are Asleep, The Sparkly Wallflower, Turbo Tango, VNK, and XYFM. Thank you so very much. Yes. Thanks, Mike, for providing the copy for that command. That's very useful. I'm very glad that we have a command for tomorrow, and I hope that before we go live we can make individual game commands as well, but I will talk to people to make sure that happens before we go live. So thank you so very much for your support. So first and foremost, let me make sure that the calendar still works, because I've been having issues accessing the calendar for a bit, but I think I should have it now, because I want to make sure of all of the things that are happening very soon. So on Monday at 6:30 p.m. EST, 7:30 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time, the premiere of Bag of Giving will be playing Fall of Magic with Dave Ring as GM to benefit Collective Action for Safe Spaces. Bag of Giving's work starting this month is going to be very important to everybody in this community. I think that the goals that Bag of Giving have set for not only the work that we want to do, but the games that we want to highlight and the players that we're playing with is going to be absolutely neat. Please come and support that stream. Not only by watching it, which is absolutely very important, not only by financially supporting, which is obviously very important, and we hope that you can give if you can. but also please share this with people so people know that this is a thing that is happening, that they can support it, and that they can continue to support it when our future Bag of Giving streams come up later in the year, because there's another one coming up very early in December as well, and I hope that you will check that one out as well, because that's going to be a lot of fun as well. On Tuesday, a lot of things are going to be happening, because at noon EST, Greg is going to be playing some Metroid Dread and opening nominations for the Patreon Fueled Chat Chosen Game of the Month, which is going to be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to seeing what games have come to mind for you all. I'm probably going to think of something weird and esoteric for Greg to play, but it hasn't come to mind yet. And then at 4 p.m. EST, Pen and Pixels Solasta Crown of the Magister, which will be taking place at GOG's Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/gogcom. And then at 2700 hours, oh my god, calendar, why do you do these things to me? That would be 9 p.m. EST. The R Vocalists are going to do a thing. I'm pretty sure that would be more Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, which I've been having a lot of fun watching. Greg is like one of 2 or 3 simultaneous Ace Attorney Chronicles streams that I'm watching at the same time. The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles is wild, and I hope that you will come and observe that when that happens as well. And a great deal of things. Not Tuesday, actually, not sure what's going to happen on Tuesday. Well, I hope that on Tuesday, I trust that on Tuesday the thing that will happen is going to be a lot of fun, and I will still definitely pass through to check out what that might be. But yes, those are the things that will be taking place at the beginning of the week. Wednesday and Thursday, there will be no content, but on Friday, I see that Metroid Prime is on the calendar, which may or may not also be tentative, but that's also going to be a lot of fun. And then on Saturday, I see also Metroid Dread. So, lots of things that will be happening this week. First and foremost, I definitely want to repeat again that if you can pass through for Fall of Magic, the first Bag of Giving stream for the month of December, for the month of November, and for the entire run of the Bag of Giving campaign, please check it out. Please share it with all of your friends so other people can support it as well. But I will see you on Monday for that game. But until then, I hope that you all have a very lovely week. I hope that you have enjoyed the rest of your night. I hope that tomorrow will be a beautiful and well-rested and lovely and energetic and peaceful day for you all. I hope that you won't let your problems be someone else's problems, but you will try to make other people's problems your problems, just a little bit. And I will see you all very, very soon. Until then, have a good night, everyone. So here are all of my encouragements for you all to make terrible decisions, as I am the GM.
Ash has a crossbow bolt in her side, 0 dots in skirmish, and 0 dots in wreck. And I'm so excited to see this get even worse. So that's 1 vote for escalation.
Skelly has 3 guns and all the ammo.
Crossroads has no guns, but Crossroads is a gun powered by ghosts.
Have we established that your guns are special to you? I feel like we're establishing that your guns are special to you.
Before this crew, they were my only friends.
You've known us for 5 days. You've known those guns a lot longer.
These are my babies.
Yeah.
I just want to say, Rowan was starting to do this, and then he realizes to harvest, this doesn't help. Like, don't do that.
This is not.
No.
This is
Like,
not.
don't do
this
this.
thing.
Yeah.
Doing this to an executioner.
Yeah, that's not what you
Just
want.
like this, like
We call that the go sign, you know? Like, yeah.
Oh man.
This theme's great. I will do a fortune roll. Notes. No thoughts. Head empty. 1!